Hello, everyone. This is Doug Davis, broker in charge of Quran B Realty, and here today with another session of Ask Doug. And I was asked this, but someone wanted to know more about lead-based paint and asbestos as it relates to your home, your condo, the places we live, whether you're selling it or just living in it. You should know about these two topics. So, okay, first one, lead paint. That's perhaps the simplest one because you can test for it yourself. You can go to a hardware store, local hardware store, and get a little lead paint test kit. They cost under $10, $8, $9, something like that. And you can test yourself and determine if your home or condo has lead-based paint. Lead was banned as an additive back in 1978, but that doesn't mean that you couldn't have painted it after that with older cans that were purchased after that. So actually, for both lead and asbestos, even though there's a cutoff date, that doesn't mean that an older product wasn't used in your place. So it's best to get it tested. Certainly, 1978, they weren't manufacturing it anymore. So that was the tipping point for the decline of that paint being used. But it's a poison. And what happened, it was mostly in New York where this, I believe, was first determined, where these housing projects, which were in bad shape, the paint was peeling, curling, and children would nibble on it and they would be affected by it. So don't eat your house, don't eat the paint. But that's what it is. But there's other things that you do, perhaps in your home, that might bring it to the surface. And that would include sanding, like maybe you're going to repaint and you sand it. Maybe it was a latex and you're trying to put another coat over it and you need to rough it up. Well, be careful, because you might be making the lead airborne and then breathing it. So again, good reason to test for it. If you're doing a remodel and you're doing some kind of demo, you're going to be bringing that out. So be careful of that. So curling paint, sanding even for a patch, sanding the whole wall to do a new application or demolition would all expose the lead-based paint. And there's yet another thing that might happen is you can get lead in paint today, I believe, in marine-based paints. Marine-based paints are pretty nasty for painting the boat underneath boats, because you want to deter barnacles and worms and all sorts of things, and so you want to kill them. So first defense is a chemical-laden paint that they paint on the ship bottoms. So those could be used on homes. Eaves on the weather side of homes, maybe someone wants a really expensive paint to use to protect their home. So there's another beware. Okay, so that's lead, and we all have to do disclosures on that. But the practical part of sanding and patching and that sort of thing is you want to be careful. All right, asbestos, first banned in 1973, around the same time as the lead, basically. But again, don't rely on the date. There could have been excess product that was used years after. You don't know. So again, testing is done. Testing is primarily done in a lab. Most samples are sent to a lab to test, although they do have products at some of the hardware stores where you can do a home test. But it seems like everyone is using a lab to test, in my experience here. Um, Asbestos, well, commonly known in the popcorn ceiling, the bumpy ceiling, it was common to use asbestos in that. Asbestos is a silicate, and it's a long fiber, kind of like fiberglass, same kind of thing. And they they use it as a fire retardant. So you'll find it in home products. It also can be found underneath your tile, used in the adhesive, under linoleum tile, under ceramic tiles, that product that was used to adhere your tiles or linoleum often contained asbestos. And if you have tile over it, you're not going to be exposed. But if you do a remodel, you change out tiles, you do a new floor, maybe you have water damage and you have to lift up the floor to dry it, to fix it, then it's exposed. So the removal should not be done by you, may not be done by you. You need to have a company that is practiced in doing this to remove it, especially the ceiling. You have to seal the property from the fibers getting out, and the people that remove it need to have aspirators and suits, which are disposed of after everything is done, when the job is done. So it's a procedure, and it gets a little expensive. Popcorn ceilings, however, can be what is called encapsulated. So it can receive a coat of paint which would seal it all in. I'm talking of the popcorn ceiling. You can paint on that, get a roller, put a paint coat over it, and it seals it up, and that's acceptable. Your problem is when you maybe move furniture, or you scrape it with a broom, and you break that paint seal, and then the fibers may come down after you do that. So if you scrape the ceiling, you might want to do a paint touch up to seal it back up again, if you're not going to be paying for the cost of removal. So asbestos can be found in all sorts of places in your home, but if you take care, it's okay to have it there. It's when you do the remodeling or the disturbances that make it an issue. So, well, there you go. I hope those two things help. We are required, when we sell property, condos, residential properties, condos and homes, to have a lead paint disclosure on whether it was tested or not, and if you know or not. It's okay not to know, and a buyer can certainly have it tested if they want. As far as asbestos, again, buyer beware, and buyer can have it tested, and they can go the simple way of painting it to keep it contained, or they can vote for the removal. So there you go. Hope that was interesting, and keep the questions coming. Love to help you with this. All right, thanks so much, and you guys have a great week.